If My People Bible Reading, Part 85, the book of Joshua. And we just finished in chapter 2. As we go through chapters 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8, um, Yahweh made it clear that this was a promise that he was going to give, and the instructions had to be followed specifically. Very hard instructions to follow today, because when Yahweh says go into the land and kill everything, he means everything. Women, children, all men, leaders, rich people, poor people, y'all got to go, and that includes your animals. Jericho. What was Jericho known for history, for eons? What was Jericho known about? It was like a Sodom and Gomorrah on a smaller scale, but yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah. And Ai, which is low, and all the cities surrounding Jericho, because it was a big area with smaller towns around it, like Ai and others, that they were to take. And when Yahweh says to go in there and do the following, and don't deviate from it, he means that. So today, that's really in religious circles, the religions of the world, which all religions other than hearing and obeying the Father are false. So if there's 100,000, or count all the land of India, so they have 300,000 gods there. So let's just say 500,000 religions out there. They're not of the Father, and they're not pretending to be. And so they would go very much against this, because this is what you do in the politics of the day. Today, it's the politics and demonism is very closely combined. And that's a sad situation. It really confuses people. So uh, that's what happens through the book of Joshua. This is about taking the land and doing it the way you're supposed to do. Here we are now in chapter 7, and I'm at verse 34 under chapter 8. Chapter 8, verse 34. Afterward, Joshua read all the words of the law. Key words, and why did I put this in here? He read all the words of the law. So now for Orthodox Judaism's rabbis who say, oh, we don't read the Bible, which they don't. It used to be for hundreds or 1,000 or so years they read the Tanakh, they read the Old Covenant. Then they started reading parts and pieces of it. Then they left out a great number of the parts and pieces because it pointed to Yeshua. And as we've shown so far, Yeshua is written more and seen more and talked to more and with the people in those days more, a lot more uh, than he was in the New Covenant. The New Covenant, he was actually a short time between his birth and age 12. A short time mentioned, then he disappeared for 12 to 15 years. Where was he? Now, many people speculate, including me, that if you talk to people in Europe from Zebulon and from the Naphtali tribes and so forth, they say he was in England with his mother and with his family members, which were traders and so forth. Traders, traders. And silver was a big deal for trading and mining and so forth. And the history and the lore that goes with that is up to you to decide. But I don't have a problem with it. The fact is, it's not in the Bible about what was going on during those years. It's not a mystery year. To me, it's extremely obvious. For those who go with that he was a carpenter and that's what he did because his dad was in Nazareth, in where he was where he was born in Bethlehem and where he lived in Nazareth when later on, in fact, his family lived, especially Miriam, who, by the way, wasn't a virgin. She ended up, after having Yeshua, a number of children, girls and boys. So, no, she didn't remain a virgin her whole life. Come on, get real. They did not go to Nazareth. They went to Capernaum. So when Yeshua was in the Capernaum, that was one of his hometowns. Okay? Makes sense later on when you hear about Yeshua in Capernaum and why they did or did not listen to him. So here we are that Joshua said he read all. So there goes Kabbalah, there goes Talmud, there goes the wizardry and the ages that only rabbis can figure out and all the wisdom. Once again, this is the second and the third time I've shown it to you in the Old Covenant, not the New. that the rabbis don't read anymore. That's why they just don't read it. It's all the books on their shelves. Go to their houses and take a look at what they read. You won't see the Bible on the shelf. Well, you won't see the New Testament. No, you won't see the Bible. They've done with it. They're done with it. This is another reason right here. It's in plain English and any other language that we have. Verse 35, there was not a word of all that Moses commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and the children and the aliens who lived among them. Everybody was involved then. My comment, again, this indicates that Moses wrote all of the law with no such things as oral law, no such things as today's rabbis claim to this day. Still, simply put, when any person claims to know oral law passed down through the ages, and this supersedes the written Torah, the Bible, flee these people. Don't go to these organizations and don't try to convert them. They are only to be converted by your behavior, your actions, and they are to become jealous of that. But what you read to them and what you give them, it's not going to work. They are simply liars, and to make it up as they go. This makes them appear to be wiser than you, and they have it written on their foreheads in little tefillins and so forth. This kind of behavior comes from the father of lies. That's why it's called in the New Covenant the synagogue of Satan today. That's why it's called the church of Satan. And they're everywhere. So now we're in chapter 10, and we're talking about Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. All these places that they were to go, they were to take out these people and wipe them out. Now, the problem arises when they don't. That's where the sin rises up. It's not that they were slow or too fast. They didn't do what they were told to do. Why? To understand that today, when Yeshua returns the second time to establish his government, he's going to cleanse some hearts, especially his shepherds. He's going to correct his shepherds. He's going to clean their hearts out. And what's that mean? What is the purpose of the heart? To move blood. What is the purpose of blood? To move DNA, proteins, genes. He's going to clean out our gene pool. That's what's going on in the Old Covenant. He's cleaning out the gene pool. So why kill the animals? Same thing today. I mean, I know the gays and the homosexuals and the lesbians and transvestites and transpansites or whatever they call themselves today. Now you have bestiality. The people in the bestiality want to be legalized and approved too. Did you know that? They're trying with all their heart, especially in the next elections coming up. They want to be approved. And so people who play around with animals in sexual purposes, it destroys the animal's DNA. And so it really messes things up. And especially for humans, Yahweh knows that. That's what he was doing in those days, cleaning out the house. That's why he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It was so bad, even the dirt was filthy. So Sodom and Gomorrah had to be cleansed. The water and the dirt had to be cleansed. It was so filthy with incredible things that are going on back then, and it's happening again today, just as it did in the first earth age, Genesis 1:1. Read it. That's why the earth became corrupted. All right. In the comment section for chapter 10, verse 20, so Joshua and the Israelites destroyed them completely, almost to a man, but a few who were left reached their fortified cities. Good news or bad news? Bad news. It's going to be bad news later on. Comment, this land was full of ites, Canaanites, Canaanites, people not of the seed that they should be. This helps to explain why Yahweh would utterly want a certain people, a certain race, a certain creed, a certain seed wiped off the face of the earth. Yahweh is not a violent, bloody Yahweh as the world would want you to think. Just the opposite. Yahweh had given Joshua and his men instructions to get rid of the evil DNA that Hasatan had planted throughout the region. And yet, as we read further, this did not completely happen because Joshua and his people once again failed to heed the word as instructed. We still live with these evil people today. for those institutionalized churches who do not understand this, and that's most all of them, it makes it easy understanding why they distort the statement by Paul in the churches, by the way, not the pagans, the churches, saying that we're no longer under the law. Being wise, they have made themselves fools. For Paul was right. We are no longer under the law of condemnation, which man can no longer obey to save themselves. Torah is not going to save you. All the reading of Torah every day is not going to save you, especially the old. You've got to read the new to understand what mercy and grace is all about, because it takes you back to the Garden of Eden. As you remember, Adam and Eve were under grace and mercy. There was grace and mercy even in the time of Adam and Eve. We're under the writer and author of the law, the Torah, the old and new, and then the better one. And the one who says it's the better one is Yeshua himself. He's our shield through grace and mercy, and as a result, we hear and obey the law, the Torah, every day, for Yeshua wrote it for everlasting purpose, and in the end will actually put Torah in our hearts. The Mikra testifies to the fact that what does and does not work, to trust in Yahweh in all matters and always go to him in all matters of righteousness. Not knowing the Mikra will cause you to wander in the New Testament all the days of your life without gaining any wisdom. So you people that read only the New Covenant, the New Testament, because you don't need to read the old stuff that's bloody and gory in the Old Covenant, you're not going to get it. You're just going to keep repeating and turning the cycle and going to church and going to Sunday school, and year after year after you're hearing the same old nonsense. So someone in there that's 12 years old and someone in Sunday school in the typical institutionalized churches who's in his 90s is hearing the same story, and they still don't get it. Wow. I was dumb enough to listen to the nonsense and filth that came out of these people who call themselves pastors, who are keeping the sheep as dumb as rocks for about 25 years before I started waking up. My brother woke up a couple years before me, but I couldn't get to him because he was gone. He took off. We weren't too welcome at home after the age of 17, 18. We lived in that age where you had to hit the road, be a man, turn yourself to a man. But I got to, get with him later on, and we kept a close contact in our faith walk all the way up until his passing. So we're in, where are we at here? We're in chapter 11. And it's, I'll put this in there. It says, verse 11, everyone in it, they put the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anything that breathed, and he burned up Hazor itself. Once again, as I mentioned, what does that mean? It means there's a reason Hazor was burned and everything was taken out. There's a reason for burning, not just to tear something up. That is not the purpose that Yahweh does things. He doesn't like to set things on fire. He's not an arsonist. Homes, when they are full of filth and abominations and sodomizing and all kinds of things, especially when somebody doesn't follow the dietary laws. The filth that's in homes today kills people. What's it called? Halitosis or something. I remember my mother saying that back in the 60s. Gosh, that was 50 years ago. This house has halitosis. To me, I didn't know anything. I was just a kid. I was just saying it smells like feet. The whole house smells like feet. Is that a form of filth? Yeah. Yeah. Do a lot of people live today, and although they think they're modern, they think they're intelligent, are they just living in filthy rat holes? And they should be outside in the sun, where they keep full of fluids. They keep social distances. They keep their hands clean. They clean themselves daily. They keep their orals and their mouth and teeth and everything taken care of. And you're outside. You're under a lot of UV light, UV, which is free. UV, going out in the sun, which you're told not to do. You got to hide in your house. Everything you're being told is just unbelievable. It's just the opposite of what you should be doing. So here we are in chapter 11 when they're explaining the whole thing right here, which is exactly what's going on when you look outside your window, which you're being told by the government, who are the people who really care and love you and so forth. Yeah, right. Okay. On a brighter side, we'll get to more to it in a minute. We'll start chapter 12 with the next reading.